Okay, picture this. It's the last question in your maths test. The clock is ticking down, 30 seconds left, and you see a question like this. It seems impossible, but then you remember that you know how to do this because you watched this video. So let's go through this. Anyone reckon they could do this? It looks super intimidating. It's a complex fraction, but it's actually quite simple. It's designed to look intimidating, make you feel anxious, but we're going to break it down and you're going to be glad that you watched this. So let's do that. Let's break this down. How would you do this? Well, the key is to treat the numerator and the denominator separately before we divide this. So the numerator is our top part. So what we need to do is work this out first. So let's do that. So let's write out, we've got a half plus a third. Okay, so we could use the lowest common multiple trick, or we could just cross multiply. I like to cross multiply. So to cross multiply, you're just going to do this times this first. So you're going to do 1 times 3, which is 3. Then you add that sign, and then you do the other two sides. So this multiplied by this. So 1 times 2, which is 2. And on the denominator, you multiply these two. So it's just going to be 2 times 3, which is 6. And we could simplify this to 5 on 6. So remember, that is just what my numerator is. Perfect. Okay, let's work out my denominator next. So let's write this out. So we have 3 on 4, subtract 1 on 6. Let's cross multiply again. So you're going to do this one times this one first. So 3 times 6 is 18. And then you're going to subtract this times this. So 1 times 4 is 4. And on the bottom, you're just going to do those two multiplied by each other. So 4 times 6 is 24. So that simplifies down to 14 on 24. And they're both even numbers, so we could simplify them. We could half both of them, so we might as well, because it's always better to simplify. So half of 14 is 7, and half of 24 is 12. So this is my denominator. So let's just rewrite out my original equation, but with these new values in. So this was my numerator. So we had 5 on 6 over my denominator, which is this value, 7 on 12. And I like to write this out using the division symbol. So you've got 5 on 6 divided by 7 on 12. And in order to divide fractions, all you need to do is flip the second fraction around, and then the symbol could change into a multiplication. So our equation actually is 5 on 6 multiplied by 12 on 7. So I have just flipped this second fraction around. And then when we multiply, you could do numerator times numerator over denominator times denominator. But hopefully you could see straight away we could actually simplify because you've got 12 and 6 over here. And 6 is common to both of them. 6 goes into 12 twice and into 6 one time. And now we could just do numerator times numerator, so 5 times 2, which is 10, and denominator over denominator times denominator. So 1 times 7, which is 7. If you hadn't simplified, you would eventually, so if you had done 5 times 12 and 6 times 7, and then you simplify that answer, you would have got to the same answer eventually. So always make sure you simplify. And bonus marks, if in the comments section, you could tell me what we call this type of fraction when it's top heavy. But well done. Hopefully that made sense and it wasn't that intimidating. We're going to do a few more. So the next one I would like for you to try is, this one's a bit simpler. And now, because you've watched the video for the first one example, you should be able to do this. If I asked you what 2 over 5 divided by 3 on 7 is. So again, Let's write this out. So we've got 2 on 5 divided by 3 on 7. Nice and easy. Flip the second fraction around and change this symbol into a multiplication. So 2 on 5 multiplied by 7 on 3. This time, we can't simplify those two, or you can't simplify those two. So we just have to do our numerator times numerator. So 2 times 7 is 14, and our denominator times denominator. So 5 times 3 is 15. So it should just be 14 on 15. Nice. Good work if you've got that. Okay, let's go one step harder. So let's use a bit of algebra. Say we have 1 minus 1 on x all over 1 plus 1 on x squared. Okay, do you reckon you could do this? Do you want to pause the video, put the answers in the chat box, and then come back and we'll check your answer. Okay, welcome back. Let's see if you got this correct. So this one's a lot more challenging. Let's do the numerator part first. So let's just work out what that is. So I'm going to rewrite it. So we have 1 minus 1 on x. And remember, any whole number we could just write as a fraction over 1. So 1 could just be written as 1 over 1. Okay, now let's cross multiply. So we know we're going to do that times that first. So that is just x, subtract that times that, which is just 1. And on the denominator, it's those two multiplied by each other. So it's just x minus 1 on x. Okay, what about this? Let's work this out as well. So we have 1 plus 1 on x squared. Same thing, we're just going to write 1 as 1 over 1. Now we're going to do cross multiply, so that times that first, which is x squared plus that times that, which is just 1. And on the denominator, it's that times that, which is just x squared. Beautiful. And then remember, my fraction is this value divided by this value. So let's write that out. So it's x minus 1 on x divided by, and I will just put the division symbol, x squared plus 1 on x squared. Okay, so in order to work this out, we could change this sign to a multiplication by just flipping these two around. So my equation is x minus 1 on x multiplied by, and we're going to flip that second fraction around, x squared on x squared plus 1. Okay, then we could do top times top, and straight away, before I do that, I could see that, oh, there's an x squared here and an x here. I might as well simplify now. You can simplify at the end, but it just makes life easier simplifying initially. So x goes into both of them once, and x squared divided by x is just x. So hopefully you can understand that x goes to 1 and x squared just becomes x to the power of 1. Then we could do top times top, which is x multiplied by x minus 1. And my denominator is x squared plus 1. Beautiful. And that's as far as we could go with that. So hopefully you got that right. Well done if you did. That's really good work. And I've got one more example that I quickly want us to go through before we call it a day. So let's try one more. Say I give you 4 plus 2 on 3 all over 5. You reckon you could calculate that? I know you can, especially if you've been watching this far. So go on, pause this video, have a bit of a go, put your answers in the comment section, and let's roll. Let's rock and roll. Let's do this. Okay, step 1, let's do the numerator first. 4 plus 2 on 3. So the 4 you can just write as 4 on 1, And now we could just cross multiply. So you multiply those two, then you multiply those two, and on the denominator, it is just those two. And that gives you 14 on 3. And that's my top. So you've got 14 on 3 all over 5. And we'll just write that as a fraction. I mean, as a division symbol. So it's basically that. 5 you could just put as 5 on 1. You could flip this fella around by changing that sign. So it becomes 14 on 3 multiplied by 1 on 5. And then top times top over bottom times bottom. Boom, tick, tick, tick. Well done if you got that correct. Even if you didn't, it's okay. At least you watched this, at least you learned, and hopefully you're feeling a bit better about converting complex fractions or just working with fractions. Hopefully they're not as intimidating as you first thought. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you found this helpful, and I shall see you next time. Have a good day.